Bazoo! Hello, welcome back to Elden Ring Nightreign. In the previous part, we took out Sentient Pest, defeating them for the first time, along with doing a thing for Recluse. This time, Chapter 1, Mind Flesh, partially plated, mind hand with brush, a window into oneself. Brushstrokes outline these fragments of memory. And then Chapter 2, The Erd Tree, I'm an oddist. From the distant land of reeds, washed up on the shore, inspired by what I saw, but the piece is incomplete. Something is missing. And we can begin Executor's first remembrance. And we check the map and see Guardian is over here, and we can talk to him.
May I ask you something? I heard that in the lands between, there was once a thing of wonder known as the Erd Tree. The monolithic tree was said to be a symbol of the land's blessings. Did you ever see it for yourself?
I didn't know, but I figured it'd be better to deny. I did affirm on a second character though, and the dialogue was different, which was neat.
Yes, I see. And yet you revere it nonetheless. If a marvel of nature can inspire such devotion, I should desire to gaze upon it, if only for a moment. I must say, where we are headed, there shall be no such tree. But if we can repulse the night, it may yet be restored. Oh, I should mention, the priestess was looking for you. Perhaps she wants a word.
So, he doesn't doubt you if you say affirm, which is pretty nice. But here, the priestess.
There you are. There is a task I would like you to perform. Would you be so kind as to find me some flowers? Since you're familiar with the old golden realm and have an eye for beauty, I'm sure you can locate some which positively brim with grace. If you wouldn't mind, of course.
Personal objective added. And I figured, because of what she said, it would probably be more honest to affirm. But there I saw Shifting Earth Underway Mountaintop. I also saw Augur, and I decided to read that. However, at the time of the gameplay recording, it was like 1 p.m., maybe 2 p.m. It is now past midnight. So, I forgot that I planned on reading Augur's description until it's too late. So, whoops. But, yeah, beat Sentient Pest, now on to Augur. And I was going to go check his relics to change them out, because I don't really play Executor. And so I probably don't have very good relics on him, but we had pretty fast matchmaking, so we didn't really have time to do that. At least, not while actively waiting. Or not while actively searching for a match, I should say. If I had actually looked at the relics before recording, definitely would have had time, but who am I to prepare? For I am truly a man who just throws himself into the deep end and sees where he ends up. Usually the deep end, surprisingly enough. Here I saw this, and saw that was a personal objective, and went, okay, well, we hit the ground, no one has placed a pin, so I might as well, and I'm gonna try to hit the church, mine, and then take the spectral hawk from the tree and hope that works. My teammates, however, had a different plan. And based on what they were doing, I could already tell this one was not going to be the greatest of runs. Because their location shown, but I think that was a personal pin, not like a pin on the map. And so neither of them placed a pin. They just ran to a location. No pins at all. And they didn't follow my pin. Which, my pin going straight for a church that was close by. That's a pretty good one. It's harder... It's hard to get a better pin than a close-by church. So I already knew that if I wanted to do my personal objective, I was not going to be hanging out with the team. Because I wouldn't be able to get them to follow me. And so I figured, hey, they killed a boss. Good on them, but I'm going to replace the pin there in hopes that they'll actually look at it, recognize that that's a good pin, and go for it. There, I was close to a level, so I figured I can kill one basic enemy, get another level, and that'll hopefully help me when I'm heading into the mine. And then I placed the pin on the mine since I saw they were coming for the church. And I thought, hopefully that'll like bring him in. I didn't have too much faith, but I figured it's better to try to communicate than to say, well, my team didn't instantly follow me at the very beginning, and therefore I'm just going to completely abandon all hope that they could possibly be somewhat decent. I'm not really like that. I'm not that cynical. I have a little faith in my fellow humans. Not too much, but a bit. There, placed a personal pin, just to tell a recluse that I was heading in this direction, and I hoped that that would lead him to come follow me. There, placed a pin on the spectral hawk tree, and once again just hoped that the team would get the message and hoped that they would follow me. There I saw a draconic tree sentinel, and I went, oh, that's a tough boy. I'm gonna leave them alone. There, waited for my teammate to get to the tree before actually moving on. And yeah, saw that a teammate died. That was very unfortunate. Not much I could do about that. Especially since I was on the Spectral Hawk. And the LA was now showing, like, pinning locations. And that was nice. However, the rain would stop right next to where I needed to be. And I figured, I can't wait. And here, we have ourselves a Bloodhound Knight. And I probably should have done this day 2, but I was being stubborn and I thought, well, I'm already here. And while I'm not great at fighting Bloodhound Knights, I know them well enough. Like, I know most of their moves, most of their timings. And so, especially that attack and the other form that it can come in, that attack. And I figured I could probably survive and fight them, but one, I don't want to risk it, and two, I don't want to spend the time. So I decided to just pop my ult. Enemy failed. Blessed flowers. Objective achieved. Completing character objectives gets you 30,000 runes. And I thought, I can pop those at this set of grace. Shot straight to level 5. And then I figured I can go rejoin the team now that I've actually completed that personal objective. And here, it's either, with this big church, either the boss is up in that main room, or there's a hole in that location. The hole is in that same location every time. And there's two bosses up top, or two possible bosses up top, two possible bosses down below. And this is a voiceover after the fact, not talking while playing at the same time. And when I looked at the character screen there, I was making some point, I don't remember what it was, because it was like 11 hours ago at this point. Here, I decided to swap over to the Cursed Blade, because I figured it makes you slow and it seems weightier. And so I feel like it's probably better at stance breaking. Whether it actually is or not, I don't know. I don't have any of the numbers on that. I didn't look it up. I didn't really do any testing. It just sounded like something that made sense to me at the time, so. Here, I figured I could also kind of like block with it, because that's the main point of the Cursed Sword, is that it's like a parry. And I'm not big on parrying, but it can be useful. They decided to pick up 10k because I see that as more useful than poise. And I figured Golden Hippo is a fun boss. It's also a pretty easy boss, and it's right here. So, why not fight it? And thankfully the team agreed. And especially with whatever had turned us invisible. I don't know offhand. But the boss went down very easily. And here, none of these really looked great, but I figured I can pick up the crystal staff, drop it, ping it. Maybe a recluse will like that. And I kind of wanted to go for the main castle. However, it was already at the edge of the circle, and we had already spent a bit of time. So I figured we probably don't have time for that, which is a bit unfortunate, but I would rather just play it safe, because I'm of the personal opinion that you should end day 1 at least level 7, and we're already level 7, so we're doing fine. And there, as you can see, they still have their pin on. I took my pin off. That's something you'll notice a lot, is when I pin, whenever we get to the location, I take the pin off. And I do that in order to stop any possible confusion. And I wish that other people would do that, because it's just nice. Here, I saw less likely to be targeted, and it has more damage. And I thought that was just very nice. There, I placed the pin on that location. I didn't know if we would have enough time, and I actually kind of doubted it, but I figured, well, I would rather at least try just to see, because I would rather try something and have it not work out and then have me just run away. I'd rather do that than to just stand around and be inefficient. So, ran up, thought, yeah, I'm definitely going to end up in the rain, but thought I might have time, and here I very quickly realized, nope, I was correct in the initial assumption when I thought, no time, not worth it. But like I said, I'd rather try something and fail rather than to just do nothing. So we tried something, it didn't work out, and we move on. Here I saw a merchant, and I was going to go buy 2 Starlight Shards and then upgrade my weapon, but the 2 enemies were running after me, and I thought, it's not worth it. So, just ran to the middle. And here, this was new, because the enemies that you get kind of give you a hint on what the boss is going to be. And I had never seen the 2 imps with the Erdtree Burial Watchdog before. Like, the only time I had seen them before in Nightreign was in Ruins, with the Erdtree Burial Watchdog being the boss himself. So this was definitely very new to me. But different Nightlords have different bosses. And here, I really couldn't tell what the boss was going to be. And it was a Smelter Demon, which really threw me off. It kind of made sense after the fact, but that was not something I could have predicted. Now, I have played Dark Souls 2 before, but I did not make it very far, and it was a very long time ago. And so I've actually never beaten Smelter Demon. Or if I did, I don't remember it. So, as long as we didn't die here, this would be my first time ever beating Smelter Demon. And it would be in, like, a Elden Ring spin-off game, which was an incredible sentence for me. I mean, hey, anything to avoid Dark Souls 2. A game that I have actively defended before. But still. as I said, haven't really, to my knowledge, I've never beaten them. To my knowledge, I've never even fought them. But when I showed the katana there, that was at the gameplay. I had myself muted, but at the time I was going like a samurai warrior on fire, wielding a katana made of meteorite. That goes so hard. And yeah, when you get close in phase 2, you're on fire. You're ablazing. There, our Duchess popped ult. That's what makes us invisible. The whole not knowing offhand what made us invisible, that's because I didn't realize we had a Duchess. I mean, I knew it at the time, but like I said, I recorded this game for like 11 hours ago. And I've done a ton of games since then. I'd say a ton, but like 8 or 9. But we beat Smelter Demon. And that was my first time beating Smelter Demon. And I just spammed X because I thought that I was going to open up the level up thing. Not the boss reward thing, so whoops. My bad. But here, I was thinking, like, do I go with the main castle or do I go with the mountains? Here, a teammate made a completely different third decision in this encampment, which personally I don't think encampments are worth it most of the time. But teammate made a pin, I didn't. And based on the rules that I have personally set, the person who makes the pin is the leader. Unless the other two people both are both in mutiny. But the decision was fair enough for me to not really consider a mutiny, so this is where we went. And I knew that there was one up top, because with the Red Main Knights, there's always one up top. And so, we beat him, and thankfully wherever I went, Duchess went too. Which was very cool because neither Duchess nor Executor are great against shields, but together they can work pretty well. And there, I was just debating between crossbow for range or physical attack. And I really, really wanted to go with physical attack, but there was some weird, like, nagging voice just going, hey, you're really going to want a crossbow. I'm telling you, you are going to want the crossbow. And I didn't understand why, but I figured that nagging voice repeatedly telling me to get the crossbow might be my gut. And every time I've ever ignored my gut in the history of ever, everything has gone wrong. Here, I decided to go with the katana because I'd be using that way more than a crossbow. I wasn't really sure where the other teammate was going, but here we can see that there's Crucible Knights, because the main castle can either be Giants, Banished Knights, or Crucible Knights. Now, I've heard somewhere, I don't remember where, but I've heard somewhere that giants are the worst, Crucible Knights are the best. I personally disagree with that. I agree that giants are the worst. Giants are very clearly the worst. But I think that the Banished Knights are actually a little better than the Crucible Knights. I mean, when it comes to actually fighting them, personally I prefer Crucible Knights. They are so fun to fight, they're so satisfying. You don't really get to see it here because Crucible Knights feel almost fundamentally different when you're fighting them with someone else. Their teammate died, unfortunate, they were off on their own. Don't go off on your own in Nightreign. Especially in difficult areas like the main castle. But, ah well. Here you can see it a little bit. Where when you're fighting Crucible Knights alone, there's this very natural ebb and flow that just feels so satisfying to get down. And personally, I feel it was both variants of the Crucible Knights. The Great Sword, Great Shield, and the Great Spear. And you don't really get that much physical damage negation, but you don't get it that much in Nightreign. Partially because you're always in a team of 3, at least normally, and partially because you're on a time limit, so you don't really get the time to slow down and enjoy that dance. But in normal Elden Ring, fighting the Crucible Knights, I was a little confused on where the Site of Grace was, but it was over here. But in normal Elden Ring, fighting them, the Crucible Knights I mean, and being able to just perfectly dodge them, if you have trouble with them, fight them but don't attack. Just lock on and focus on dodging until you can... This is gonna sound very arbitrary, and it is, but until you can survive without taking damage 100 hits. If you can go 100 hits or 100 attacks without being hit once, then you can definitely start swinging. Here I just didn't want to abandon the Duchess. But the Duchess came in from the other side, and that means that they didn't get the things that we got earlier on. There bought Starlight Shards for my Recluse, and I figured, okay, now it's time to go after the church up at the top. Because I really want to get that. And those two were still in the castle, but I figured... Do we really have time? And I thought they were down at the bottom fighting the boss. And I went, okay, I really want to go after the church, but I guess we can go fight them. And then go straight for the church. And then I realized, oh, they're actually above me, and that's a Grouted Scion. Not too difficult to beat, but I don't want to be here for too long because I really want that church. I really want that heal. But here, jump down, The fight was almost over already, but figured I can help a little bit. Here decided to grab this. Neither of those options looked great. Here, one person went up, one person went down. I figured down is better. They realized that Duchess wasn't coming with, or wasn't with us at the time. But I figured, nope, time to go. Forward, forward, forward. Because I still had my mind on that church. And I wanted to get there. And every second we spent here was a second not at the church. And it was on the very edge of the ring. Which had me concerned. So, heal, revive them, get the kill once we got the stamina for it. And I decided I'm gonna go with Dragon Scale just because it has more damage. And it was the best of the three options. But yeah, if you have trouble with these guys, if you think they're difficult, just fight them, don't attack, and try to dodge 100 attacks without getting hit before moving on to actually attacking them. Because once you can get that ebb and flow down, they are extremely satisfying. And maybe I'm biased because I tend to prefer like knights and more humanoid enemies compared to the more inhuman enemies and bosses, but they just feel so clean. They feel so satisfying. It feels like a dance, like a back and forth between you and the Crucible Knights. And they just feel so well balanced. While not being easy. And I appreciate that a lot. But here, I got a bit too antsy and went, alright, it is time to go. Here I looked down, saw just this gaping chasm, and got super worried that it was instant death. I saw it jump there and realized, oh no, it's not instant death, it is just a very long ways down. Either way, doesn't matter too much because I got over the gap and realized green was pretty far behind, and I was able to get there just in time. And of course green was the Duchess, the person who went to the other side of the main castle for some reason. And I was going to keep my pin there until Duchess found where she needed to go. Saw that Duchess was there, decided to pin that, and continued moving on. And here I saw, on the way there, there's a formidable boss, so we can take them on. And I didn't think we were going to get to that red thing yet. I didn't think we were going to do it this expedition, but I was fine with that. And as of this point in the gameplay recording, this was actually my second time seeing the Mountaintops. I'd seen them once before, a bit earlier on. Don't remember where, but I had one expedition where there was mountaintops in the world. It was pretty neat. I don't think it's that good. Like, visually, I prefer it over the crater, but functionally, I prefer the crater. But anyway, we had these two snowfield trolls, and despite the temper tantrum of them slamming their foot on the ground, we were able to beat him pretty easily. And here, we had the rain coming in, so we had to worry about that a little bit, but I figured I saw it improved ranged weapon, and it was attacks, and I figured, well, I have a crossbow, so why not? And here, you're supposed to end day 2 at least level 10. I'd say more like 11. And we're at 13, so we're doing pretty decently. Not great, because at this point I'd gotten pretty used to playing on my coordinated characters, where I play in coordinated groups. In case you don't know, I have 2 characters. One for coordinated groups, and then this character for recording and playing with randoms. And I had 2, like, I had a main group, and we had a very unhinged way of playing things, but I played Iron Eye, and I had a reduced character skill down +3, a reduced character skill down +3, and a reduced character cooldown +2, which meant that I had my, like, dodge and marking ability extremely quickly. And then I had another ally, or one of my allies who played Iron Eye as well, and they had not one, but 2 different increased rune acquisitions, and then something else. I don't remember what. But they had 2 increased rune acquisitions, and then a third player who tended to play Wilder, and then we had a replacement person for when they weren't available who played Duchess. And we pretty much just grinded the Harda when it was available, and oh my god, we got so good at that. We ended up pretty consistently ending day 1 at like level 10. And we would hit level 15 like part way through day 2. And we would still have like a boss or 2 to kill before the night 2 boss. It was incredible. And so going from that to playing with randoms, it's like, yeah, going into night 2 at level 13 is pretty good, considering I believe that you're supposed to head into night 2 at level 11, so 13 is pretty good. But I'm just so used to the, like, hyper-coordinated group. Here, character or improved HP flask restoration seemed like the objectively better option, but I went with periodic glint blades because anything that's a passive regen I absolutely love. But that entire spiel was entirely because I do not care for that boss. I just wanted to avoid talking about them. I don't dislike them, I just find them boring. So, here, I was 5k away from getting one of those, so I was extremely disappointed in that, but I figured I can buy more Starlight Shards for the Recluse, you know, help them with that. And then I can buy 1 Warming Stone, and I was able to pick up 1 Warming Stone. And I thought, which katana do I want to go with? Do I want to go with pure damage, or do I want to go with bleed? And I figured, well, one, this area looks beautiful, but I figured I'm probably not going to be able to hit Augur enough. Maris, Fathom of Night. Probably not going to be able to hit them enough to trigger bleed, so I'm just going to go with the pure damage one. But unlike the Night 2 boss, where I talked about anything else in order to avoid talking about them, I'm going to talk about Maris, because, wow. I mean, I was muted at the time, but I spent the entire fight just gushing over this boss, because everything about them looked incredible. I mean, I got to see like a sneak peek of them last time when fighting Sentient Pest, because they like invaded. But here, getting to see them fully, they kind of reminded me of the Elden Beast, but without the like humanoid arms and hands, which was one of my two main complaints about the Elden Beast. Second main complaint is that you're just constantly chasing after them. You spend more time running than fighting. But not even running away, just running after them. Which I wasn't a fan of. And I noticed that here too. But it didn't seem as bad here. But yeah, Maris just didn't have the humanoid arms and hands. They looked more inhuman. And even though I said earlier in the main castle that I tend to prefer humanoid, Maris did the inhuman very well. And their fight felt good. Personally, I ran away from this because I didn't know that you had to try to stun him out of that. But I don't know if I'm alone on this, or if this is common, but when I first fight a FromSoft enemy or boss, I tend to not be a big fan, but then they grow on me as time goes on and I learn their moveset and learn how to get better at fighting them. And so my initial view on an enemy or boss tends to be a lower view than my like final opinion. But my initial view on Maris is incredible. I really like them. The visual design, the way they change the visuals of the area, the way that they fight. Like, my only complaint is that as a melee build, they're not very good. Because of how they're constantly floating and moving away. And that's why I was glad I got the crossbow. But even that isn't like a major complaint. It's just like a nitpick. So it's not really that big of an issue. And they do come down, like they do get close to the ground for melee builds to be able to hit them. So like I said, not that big of a deal. But that attack looks so pretty. And it feels pretty forgiving, it feels pretty easy to dodge. And I like how they induce sleep. That's pretty rare. So I think that's pretty neat, pretty unique. But while playing, as I said, I was muted, but I was talking about how they kind of remind me of a jellyfish. In the way that they just kind of float around and they're kind of like bluish and slightly transparent. Not sure what that attack was about, but a one-shot, which was kind of surprising. But yeah, they kind of remind me of jellyfish. How they were blue and like slightly transparent, just floated around the environment. How they had all these like tendril things coming off of them. And they drop a bunch of little jellyfish out to explode on you. And it also kind of reminded me of like a great one from Bloodborne. Because with Bloodborne, the first half is like beasts, and then the second half is like celestial beings from a higher plane of existence. And if you threw this into like an chalice of Bloodborne, I don't think anyone would question it. People would be like, oh yeah, that sure is something you've seen in an chalice. That's something you'd see in outer space right there. Some kind of wacky blue thing. You decided to pop ult just to avoid getting slept and do some damage. But yeah, Bloodborne is debatably my favorite game in the series. I'd say it bounces between Bloodborne and Elden Ring. But I'm gonna go with Bloodborne. Here I saw this and thought, well, I can lock onto it, so I should probably kill it. And I saw a second one when, well, I actually saw it do damage to the boss. Like, something came out of it when we killed it and went to the boss and did damage. So I thought, that's a good thing to do, because the damage to the boss is good. But, yeah, I really like that attack. And I just love this boss. The presentation is great. I got the achievement for beating them for the first time. Yeah, just the visuals, the way they move. It is an elegant, graceful, beautiful boss. And I love it a lot. And there we got another achievement, Nightlord Slayer. So, very happy with that. And here, we got increases maximum HP, Flask also heals allies, and items confer effect to nearby allies. So this is a very teammate-focused one. And I really appreciated that. That's probably what I'm gonna use on some of my characters, actually. Because I do love helping my teammates. And here we actually got a cutscene. So I'm gonna stop talking and let this play itself out.
I see it now. Shrouded by haze, yet clear as day. A sign of the root of all ill, of the thing we must needs slay. The onset of night. The time has come. We now face the primordial Nightlord. It will be unlike any other battle, but I have faith. The Nightfarers shall prevail.
And here, I couldn't see any exclamation points on the map. And so I checked that and went, oh, it pulled me out of the Remembrance, which was super weird. I've never seen that before. But I decided to resume the Remembrance. And, like, yeah, the Roundtable Hold looks different. It looks very nice. I like the new visual a lot. But I wanted to continue on to this. and get this done first.
You've returned. Thank you for the flowers. Would you mind taking them to the Iron Menial?
And check the map really quick, just make sure we weren't running off in the wrong direction. And here he was.
Oh, if it isn't our brave champion. Look here, my pride and joy, now in full bloom. Life finds purchase, even here. Just gazing at them gives me a measure of peace. Oh, what's that you have there?
Give blessed flowers.
This flower simply radiates warmth. Thank you very much. I was just thinking we could do with a bit more color around here. This is just perfect. Brave champion, how would you like to preserve this scene upon a canvas? The bloom is just upon us, after all.
And I wasn't entirely sure what he meant, but here we could paint a picture. And that's what I decided to do.
What's done is done. The Earth Tree is no more. What is lost can never return.
That kind of sounded like D to me. It's probably not, it's almost certainly not, but that's just what it sounded like to me. But here, Remembrance completed. And so we can now conclude it and head back to whatever roundtable we were dealing with before. But first, we got new pages, so we could read those. We also got Executor's Chalice and Blessed Flowers. Blessed Flowers got us, while character skill is active, unlocking use of Cursed Sword restores HP along with Dexterity +3. And then we got Chapter 3, Flowers, and embracing warmth from the flowers, the same flowers that grew in my painter's shed. I'm an artist, painting the archery. I am a guest, bearing a sword. I am silent. I am a witness. And then we have Chapter 4. Chapter 4, The Guest. I am a guest, or perhaps an executioner. The guest speaks. I will wait until your archery is complete. We also have a Chapter 5. Old friend, the archery was still incomplete, so I drew a sketch in solace of an old friend from the land of reeds, who speaks not a word. I will entrust it to my guest. I cannot complete the archery before another executioner arrives in the first one's stead. And we actually didn't have access to the next Remembrance yet, so we're gonna have to do something to unlock that. Whether that's another Remembrance or playing as Executioner, I don't know yet, but either way, this place looks incredible. I mean, the black, the gray, the fog, the like spectral roots, the way that this grace has turned into like black and blue and gray. It looks incredible. I love it. I love the visuals. I love the color scheme. When you get close to that, it turns light and it hurts the eyes, but like that, I like that. Yeah. Good progress today. We got Executioner's Chalice. We did another Remembrance. We got another reward there. We beat Augur. We fought them for the first time and we beat them. And we got a cutscene and access to another Nightlord, so I'd say that's incredible progress for one part. So I'm happy with that. Hope you'll join me in future parts, and yeah.